we want from this podcast is to let it out. Let it go. Let it come out. Let the rivers flow with your emotions. Open the floodgates and just be open with someone. Be the instigator for that change in that person's life. Only 30% of men are necessarily happy and okay. And it doesn't mean that they're not happy with their wife, but they're not happy in their marriage, or they're not happy with the person that they are.
Welcome to the Man Podcast, where your mind truly matters. We're your hosts, Tatenda and Rudi. Here, we tackle life's challenges, foster resilience, and promote wellness. Each episode promises to make a difference, one viewer at a time. Buckle up for a journey of enlightenment, because in the world of man, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Stay tuned.
Hey guys, welcome back to another one. Unfortunately, as you can see, no man to my right, no man to my left, no hidden man in the corner. I've been dropped. I've been ditched. I've been disowned. I've been left alone, and this is actually their problem now, because I can say whatever I want, and what I say now is law, because there's no one to argue with me. But no, Tats is unfortunately unavailable. Tristan is unavailable, so you just have me today. But guys, I hope I find you in very, very good spirits. It's been a roller coaster of school holidays for me, ups and downs, and but I'm happy to be here. I'm really happy to see you all. I firstly want to thank we've had a few more subscribers. We've been seeing a lot more comments on our videos, and to that I appreciate you guys, and the team appreciates you guys, because without you, your comments, your subscriptions, the joining, that gives us the access to do what we want to do, what we feel is adding value, and we want to thank you guys for that. So without there's no one else to interrupt us here, so we can get straight into it. So I thought, being alone and recording alone is sometimes can be quite daunting, but when I spoke to Tats about an hour before actually starting this, he was like, no, you just go do it. It'll be good and stuff. And I was like, you know what, it will be, because you're on one person's thought process, you're on one person's, thinking patterns, and it allows you to really dive deep into something without changing topic, without having to bring something back. So I thought it could be quite cool to chat about something that as you know, in previous videos I've done before, I can often be quite stats based, and I look at the stats and I look at how things affect the world. I look at how people are being affected and how that information is collected and put together. And so I've got a few facts that I actually put to paper. So it was quite sad to see some of the statistics, and basically what I did is I used an AI generator to pull stats from all over the different parts of the world, and finding out what are some of the statistics that talk about men's mental health, the issues around men's mental health, and what has changed in recent years. And before I get into any of those stats, I can tell you, I want to start with something a little personal, is I can tell you there's been a huge shift for me as a man in the last, I'd say, 5 years. 5 years ago, I was just carrying on with life. I was happy. I wouldn't feel that anything bothered me. If anything did, I sort of just pushed it to the side. And maybe it is a part of growing up. Maybe it's part of maturing. Maybe it's part of being in a marriage. Maybe it's part of being a father. But there was a shift. And I think that an even further shift happened when the world went through COVID. We've spoken about it on many different occasions and how the effects that had. But for me, mentally, in the last 5 years, I've gone through certain processes in my mind. One is, am I doing enough? And am I providing enough? Are my ambitions and my passions ever going to be enough for what my wife needs, what my family needs, what my friends see in me? And lastly, am I doing the right thing? Am I on the right path? Because I believe everyone's life has a path that they need to be on, and the end destination is set. And God knows that plan for you. And am I on that path of the end destination is in the straight line? Because we know life takes horrible turns. One, you'll be going through varsity. or you getting to high school, you don't know where you're going. We spoke that about in the last podcast of you going to study something and then you go and it's not actually what you want to do. So there you were on a path that maybe it was sort of a connecting flight, not exactly where you needed to be. And like I said, I've been on that path for some time where I want to know now, am I on the correct path? Is the line straight? Am I in the right direction of the finish line? Is there more hurdles to come? We don't know. Unfortunately, I think that's the fear or the scary part, but the beauty about the unknown is for us, it is exactly that. It's unknown. But the unknown can be extremely exciting, can also be extremely scary. And it's just about, I think, where your mental headspace is at that time to take it on. And the reason I'm talking about this is I spoke to one of the high school learners that are leaving school now. And he spoke to me and was like, "Sir, where do I go from here? What do I do? What do I study? Why?" And I said to him, I can see you asking this because obviously you're in exam prep mode and your head's in a certain space, but the decision is made for you in terms of when you're in school, when you're in varsity. An assessment is going to come. An exam is going to come. A bad result is probably going to come. There's going to be a day you're sick or something happens and you can't go to a class and you've got to catch it up. There's going to be some self-studying material. You're going to get home and something's happening. So those are the unknowns. But what is guaranteed in terms of your schooling and your academics is those tests and those theories and those papers and those formative exams, they're going to come. So there's no use in worrying about them and going, I don't know, because it's going to come on that date. At least you have a guaranteed stepping stone and a solidified sort of statue of going, it's going to happen and it's going to happen then. And you've got an angle of where you want to go with it. You're saying it's coming then, and I'm going to prepare myself as best I possibly can for that. And that's all you can do. So going back to my personal path is when I spoke to him and I said to him, okay, this is what you got to do. Just be prepared for it. And mine was, I need to take my advice and do the same thing. I can only control what I can control. I cannot plan for the unseen. I can't plan for the unknown. I can be as prepared as I possibly can be for those things, but it's not guaranteed. Again, tomorrow is not guaranteed. Something can happen. A car accident happens. You get sick. Your wife gets sick. Whatever those things happen, and you genuinely just need to concentrate on the things you can actually control. And one of the things I know I can control with me is trying to be mentally prepared for the day ahead. Try and be mentally and emotionally there for my wife, because that for me is guaranteed. Because in my mind, in my heart, when you've committed to someone, you got married, that is a consistent you've created in your life. You've created a consistent saying that we've made a vow, we've made a pledge to each other that you are going to be my consistent for the rest of my life until death do us part. So that is a consistent. I'm going to be a father tomorrow. Yes, life is not guaranteed, but it is a more guaranteed than anything else that we have, because anything else can happen. So I've got to be a father, I've got to be a husband, and those two things I can make sure that is my sole purpose, to be the best I possibly can be for that. Everything else in life can take the second step. As long as I know I've been a good father and a good husband, the rest of the things will fall into place, because those two things take major principles in your life. One, it takes loyalty. It takes loyalty to be obviously honest, trustworthy, caring, loving, understanding to your partner. So those values are embedded in you. And as a father, you've got to be a sense of security. You've got to be a provider. You've got to be loving. You've got to be caring. You've got to be, I think, mature and understanding of where they are in their life and help them get through the small things they get through in their life. So those values, those core values, I believe will carry you through. And if we can try and hold on to those sort of core values of things we can control, the unknowns don't seem as scary and as daunting, because you going, I'm going to attack those hurdles, those crossroads, those pathways, those rivers with the values and the core beliefs in my heart, and they will get you through. I honestly believe if you've got a strong set of core values and core beliefs, no matter what life throws at you, you will get through them. And also, if you believe, like I do, that Jesus died on the cross for me and for my sins, He has a plan for me, and He will put nothing in my path that I cannot conquer. Nothing. He will put nothing ahead of me that I can't be triumphant over at the end, because there is a lesson to it. There's a reason that hurdle has come to you. There's a reason why you've been put at a crossroads where you've got to make a decision, because that decision that you make will alter the end destination of how you get there, what wisdom you have once you get there. So I think we just need to remember, when we go through these stats now, is these stats are obviously, they're very sad, they're very make a bit of a tough read to go through, but the people that are going through them and those people there, I think a strong reflection of going how to get out of those spaces, how to help yourself and make those decisions and get yourself into a place where you love yourself, because at the end of that, that's what we want. We want every person, every man to love himself for who he is and what he is have those values and have those core beliefs of where you want to go. So let's get into a couple of them. So one of the leading causes of death for men under the age of 50, and this stat was done in the UK between 2020 and 2024, is that the leading cause of death for men under the age of 50 at a strong 19% is suicide. That means that in the United Kingdom, nearly a fifth of the men that are under the age of 50 are in a place where they feel they can't carry on. Their life has no value. I'm telling you, all the men in the UK, hopefully there's a lot of you watching this, you have value. You are loved, you are cared for, there is a plan for you, and reach out to us. Allow us to help you. Allow us to be an ear to just talk to. Allow us to be a place to vent. Because that's a very, very sad statistic. Another one, in the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare, between 2020 and 2023, 1 in 5 men will experience some sort of mental illness every single year. Now, for me, that is another scary fact, because I don't think that's just in Australia. I think I look around me and I look at just the close friends I have around me. Every single person is actually going through something. I don't think it's a diagnosed illness, but they're going through a mental struggle. And a mental struggle needs to be dealt with. We've seen that gone are the days where a man has to be this tough guy that goes through things and cry behind closed doors. Get it out. 1 in 5 people are going to experience. Out of those 1 out of 5, let's change that stat. Let's change it to 1 in 50 men. Because 1 in 5 is a lot. Again, 20%. 20% of men are going to go through something. Help your fellow man get out of it. Men are 3.5 times more likely to die by suicide than women are since 2019. Now that shows me 2 things. One is, we all know women are a lot better at dealing with their emotions. They're more emotional beings, so they are able to deal with it. And men have a nearly 4 times chance of not being able to deal with their emotions and fall into the bracket of being suicidal because they can't deal with it. Guys, it is our time to show the world. We are in a very strange age in the world where, you know, you've got all these people are talking about who they are, what they identify as, who is, and so there is so much gray area on what a man needs to be, what a woman needs to be. But at the end of the day, we're all people. We're all people with feelings. Whether you identify as this or that, or you don't identify, or whatever it is, you are a person with feelings. And if you can find someone or a person to be around, to talk to, and help deal with your emotions, you know, professional help is always good. A lot of people are scared of professional help. I know, for me personally, over the last, if you told me a year ago I would have seen someone to talk about my mental problems, I would have said, you're crazy. I was too proud about it. But doing this podcast for over a year now, I have figured out that it's okay to talk to people. I have Tristan to talk to. I have Tats to talk to. I also have reached out to a professional where I talk to him. We've got a very great counselor at school who for me is not, I don't really see him as a counselor. I see him as my affirmation, because I always need someone just to confirm that what I'm doing is the right thing. And because I am a proud person, I find it tough to talk to someone within my circle. And he's provided a great source of someone being outside my circle, who he actually knows me quite well now, but is able to give me the affirmation I need, which is really, really important. This one is tough. 72% of men report feeling isolated, lonely, or show mental struggles in a relationship. And out of that 72%, 50% of them have that feeling but never speak about it. So we're saying that only 30% of men are necessarily happy and okay. And it doesn't mean that they're not happy with their wife, but they're not happy in their marriage, or they're not happy with the person that they are. And I think that just comes with being able to talk to your person. For me, my wife and I have made huge strides forward in our relationship in terms of being able to talk about things. I think in the early days, as soon as you talk about something, it can come across as attacking, and you feel attacked, and you don't take it from where it comes from. And we're able to talk about something and say, listen, I don't want to fight about this. I don't want to argue about this, but I need to get this off my chest. It's weighing on my heart. And I think once you are able to do that, once your relationship is at that correct point to say, let's talk about this, really talk about this, not argue, not fight, walls down. There's no animosity. It is, I'm talking about my feelings because I need to get my feelings out. It really helps. I can tell you personally, it really helps, because yes, you might not get a resolution out of it, but you've got it out. The first step to having or getting better in any mental, with any mental illness, I'd say with any bad mental state, is being able to talk about the problem that you have, because you've done two things. One, you've identified the problem. You've identified the problem. You know what that problem is. You're not just in a dark space where you don't know which way is which. So you've identified the problem of what is bothering you. And two, you were able to get it out. Whether it is to yourself in a mirror, whether it was to your person, you were able to talk about it, which means that you are on the road to recovery. You're on the road to getting better, to making yourself feel better about the situation you find yourself in. So those guys that are in that 72% of men reporting feeling isolated or lonely, guys, it is so easy to find yourself out that space by just identifying what is the problem. Just do that. You don't have to talk to the person yet. Identify what is actually bothering you. Write it down. Do a mind map. Take a day for yourself. Go and do something just for you to clear your mind of, and I promise you, by removing all the other things in your life, you'll find the stuff that either bothers you, you'll be able to push aside the stuff that really doesn't matter, and find the things, those hard pebbles that are amongst the beautiful flowers in your mind, of going, that's bothering me, I want to get rid of it. I'm not saying you'll immediately just pick it up and throw it. I'm saying you'll know that rock's there. Underneath that flower, there is a little rock there that is bothering you, it's causing you discomfort. And then the other one, which I actually want to get into and sort of dwell on this for a little bit, is it says here, men are less likely to seek mental health treatment due to social expectations and masculinity. And this report was done by the American Psychological Association in 2020, and stats have increased by over 130% since 2020. Now, again, I think COVID played a huge part in that stat, where it talks about men are less likely to seek because, one, we were isolated for some people for over a year, where you only had the people in your house. So you sort of, in a year, you will develop some bad habits of isolating yourself and saying, I'm in this space, it's just me. So you don't have someone to talk to. I mean, if you had an argument with your wife, with your child, with your, someone that's living in your house, you can't go anywhere. You're not allowed to, legally, you're not allowed to leave your house because there was a pandemic happening, and you were put into a confined space where, for me, I struggled a lot. And I guarantee you, had you told me 6 months into COVID, will you seek help? Because I was in a bad mental space. I had that lack of socializing really hit me. The lack of sports really hit me. And I would have said no. I am and was part of that statistic. But after, yes, we came out, and I'm very happy that the world is what I call in a healing phase, where I think economies are slowly getting back up. South Africa seems to slowly be getting better. You got your tax that is still there, but you've got your interest rates that are dropping, which is great for all of us. And even if it's 50 Rand a month that we save, it's our 50 Rand. That's your 50 Rand that you're saving. And in an economy where you've got 50 million people, 50 Rand times 50 million, if you look at it, that's crazy numbers. So I want to ask, and maybe there's some people out there who's maybe why men are less likely to seek mental treatment or help. For me, I can't understand it, because even more so when I was able to come and socialize again and get out there and show the world, all I wanted to do was talk to people, because I'd missed them for a year. People had missed out what happened in my life where I was mentally for a year. Yes, you had a video call, I was lucky enough to be able to game with my mates, but it's not the same. And it's a very, very scary stat that we've completely regressed, where the whole world has in the last, I'd say 10, 15 years, become a lot more of an emotional world, where people are a lot more aware, and I'd say maybe not more emotional, we are a lot more aware of emotion. In the current state, because more people are talking about their feelings, more people are talking about where they are mentally. So it looks like maybe the world has gotten worse emotionally, but I think those people were always there. They just weren't able to talk about it. But since 2020, we've gone down again. Specifically, the men have gone down again in being able to talk about it. And I don't know if it's fear that, because the world has been looking at, you've got obviously the huge talks about transgender, you got people talking about non-binary, you got to talk about, all these things are coming up, and you're scared to talk about your masculinity, or you're scared to talk about your mental space or your emotional status, whatever, because you're a male. It's, that's very sad. And I think this is why Tats, Tristan, myself, we do this, is because that stat number 7 on my phone is the one we want to change the most. We want people to be able to talk about their problems. Talk about where you are. Talk about, even if you had a good day, talk about it. A lot of these stats or all of these stats are very sad, but one thing we must do as well is to get ourselves into a good space. We need to celebrate the victories we have in our lives. Celebrate the good things. If you celebrate the good things, the bad things don't seem as bad. They genuinely don't. If you celebrate the good things in your life, your mental state will help you carry through those big hurdles you feel that you are facing in your life. I look at just last week. I've had some horrible things happening in my family. I've got a young cousin who I see as my niece, who's very, very ill, and we as a family are not in a great headspace. But the good news that we did is, she went in for a surgery, and the outcome of the surgery, there was a lot of positives to take from it. Yes, I can look at it that, yes, my young cousin has gone through a horrible surgery. She's had horrible news. But at the same time, that was the cards our family was dealt. The only positive we can take from this is she's on the road to recovery. We can hold on to that good news, that she is a fighter. She is a person that is going to, with God's grace, our prayers, and our belief, is going to fight through this and come out on top. And the only thing we can do in that sense is believe that, and hope that, and pray that, and trust that it's in God's plan for her to be able to beat this, to conquer this, to cover her hurdle. And again, that goes back to understanding and controlling the things we can. My cousin, who's the father of my niece / younger cousin, he's doing everything he can as a father, as a role model, as a parent, as a husband, to get her the best medical treatment he can obviously get for her. So he's controlling one thing he can. He's being supportive. He's being faithful. He's praying hard. He's got a strong mental state that he believes his daughter's a fighter. And that's everything we could hope for. It's the only things we can control is those things. And I think the best thing for him to do in this situation, and for anyone who has a person is in a bad mental state, is do exactly what my cousin is doing for his daughter. He's scared. He's petrified. I can't even imagine the mental state that he's in. But he's holding on to the little bit of good that he's feeling. He's holding on to the little bit of good that can come out of it and saying, this is what I'm holding on to because I want to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I want to see my daughter rise, conquer, and destroy any bad things that's put ahead of her. And that is all he's doing. So, to my cousin, if you are watching this, carry on doing what you're doing. My brother, I love and I care for you. And I know with your love, your faith, your prayers, our family's prayers, and everything behind it, you and your family and our little special girl will get through this. They will fight through this. You will fight through this, and you will come out on top. And at the end of the day, we look at, this sad thing of men coming out to talk about their feelings, and it's gotten worse. Be the person that leads that change. If you're an influencer, if you are a person that is a natural leader in a social group or whatever, and you can see a person who's not doing great, and I guarantee will full knowingly be able to say, that guy's not going to talk about it. That person's not going to talk about it. Be the instigator for that change in that person's life. Be the person that says, listen, can I talk to you? Do you want to talk? Yeah, I can see something's heavy on your mind. Would you like to get it out? Even if it's someone and you can see there's something bothering them. Just last week, I went to, I was coaching at the arena, and I sat down, and a guy that I've seen there a few times, I've never actually given the time of day, not going, I don't like that person, or we just never crossed paths, is I was waiting at about a half an hour between my two sessions, and I sat at one of the tables, and one of the arena owner's boss was sitting at the table, and I felt in my heart, let's just go talk to him. So started speaking to him. We actually started speaking about cars, and I know they say old people can talk, but old people can tell great stories. I tell you that they can tell great stories. And he just started to open up, and story after story of him telling me that he worked in Ford I think it was in the South, and the cars that he started to work on, and stories about the cars, and when he was working on the cars and what it did and how the car broke, and there was factory problems that came back, and he dealt with them, and his appy did this and his appy did that, and the relationship he built with cars, and then the relationship he made with a lady who had bought a car, and he fell in love, and they fell out of love, and he just started getting onto a story where one of the stories he told me is he had lost the daughter, not by death, but by separation, and had no contact with her for over 30 years. And I could see he just needed to get this outside, just listened. And he spoke about it, and how to this day, it went back and forth, and a lot of stories were told about him about him to his daughter, and he never really got to see. He knows where. Eventually, she found out where she was, and actually got to physically see her, but no relationship was built. But he said he got closure from the situation because he did what he could do, and the situation he was dealt with. He at least got to see her. He knows she's alive. He knows that she's got a family, and all those type of things. Yes, the relationship he has with her is not what he wants from it, but he's got some sort of closure, and some positive is she's alive, she's well, and she's okay. And he held on to that. He then also he sort of diverted onto another story where he called this one of the ladies that he had met after this marriage that he had. He called it his lady friend, and they were very close. And he sort of was, she became his person, and when I was speaking to him last week, Friday, he told me the previous Monday they had gone to bed and she had passed away through the night, and he had woke up to her passing away. And as soon as he got those words out, he went from being able to talk to being very, very emotional. But I could see, I mean, to me, this guy was a stranger. We've never had a conversation, and now we've spoken about his sort of huge life stories that he's got and a huge hurdle he's gone through. But I was there to just listen. And I don't know him personally. I couldn't even tell you his last name. But what I can tell you is that I know that my 30 minutes of time given to him was probably one of the best things for him, because he was able to talk about it. He was talking to a person who had no idea about it before, could pass no judgments on the conversation about the daughter that he had maybe lost throughout his life, and this lady that was his lady friend and passed away. I was just an ear. I was a person that was just listening. And I think if we can find or be that person to just listen, that stat of people being able to talk and men being able to talk will drastically decrease. Because I don't know him from a bar of soap. I don't know if I'll ever have another 30-minute conversation with him. But I know that his conversation with me and my listening to him had an impact on both our lives. One, he shared a story and told me how valuable time is with people. And again, I think for him, he was able to get out a huge amount of just an offloading of emotion in a conversation with a person that was never going to pass judgment. That was just an ear. So I eventually had to tell him, listen, I've got to go to my session. My kids had arrived. And I just said to him, thank you so much for sharing. And I'm really sorry about you losing your lady friend. There's not much more I could say. There's not much more I could do. And I shook his hand, I gave him a hug, and I went to my session. And as I was walking onto the court where I saw it, he rubbed his eyes. He walked up to his son, and for the first time in that day that I'd seen him, he walked away smiling. But 5 minutes before that, he was crying. And I think it was because he was able to just sort of let it out. And that is what I want, and what we want from this podcast is to let it out. Let it go. Let it come out. Let the rivers flow with your emotions. Open the floodgates and just be open with someone. If it is anonymously through our platform, through an email, through a comment, let it out. Type it out. Email us. Send it to us. Speak to your best friend. Even just write a letter. Don't write all those things that you want on that letter. Don't put a name of who it's going to. And I guarantee you'll be more ready tomorrow to give that letter to someone than you were the day that you wrote it. One, you'll feel better about writing it, and you'll have this belief and opportunity and optimism to say, I could give this letter to someone and share my story, share my emotions. So I want to end it there, guys. I want to end this episode of that for me was quite raw and quite real by saying, I want you to open up. I want every single person, whether it is Tats that's going to watch this recording, Tristan that's got this recording, if there's something bottled up, let's counter those stats. And predominantly, let's counteract that stat number 7, that men are less likely to seek mental health treatment due to social expectations and masculinity. Let's drop our pride. Let's drop the sense of that we have to be this certain person, and let's speak about it. Let's get it out there. Find your platform. Find your outlet to speak about it. Guys, thank you so much. I love you. I care for you. I appreciate you. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us get this message and these messages out to as many people as we can. Please, if you look at our YouTube page, you'll see that there's a little join thing now. That's a very, very important little icon for us, because as you click on that, it allows us to be incentivized by this, allows us to grow, allows us to better our situation of delivering more messages like this, more opportunities to get people in to talk about this. And like I said, guys, thank you so much. I love you, and I will see you guys next week. Cheers.